Making his Betting with the Bag debut, one of the best in the business. I am so excited about having him on our show every single morning. And here he is on Labor Day Monday for the low baggers in the chat and the SBR viewing audience at home. Please welcome to the show, Teddy Covers. Teddy, how you doing on this Monday morning?
Now, Jimmy, I'll tell you what. I've been introduced to a lot of shows over the years. I don't know if I've ever been introduced to a show with more enthusiasm than you just gave me, brother. Thank you. I appreciate your excitement. I'm excited too, and let's see what we can break down for these guys.
Oh, man, we are all so excited about having you as part of Betting with the Bag, man. Pumped. Teddy, I know that we're going to talk about this big Notre Dame game. Everybody in the chat wants to hear your angle, but do you have any afternoon baseball action?
So I made one bet in MLB today. I laid the price with the Indians on the run line. I think I laid minus 125 with Cleveland minus 1.5 over the White Sox. My strategy at this time of the year in baseball is very, very simple. My focus on a daily basis is on football. So I'm looking to keep things relatively simple in MLB. What do I want? I want teams to fade. You know, I've been fading the Rockies. I'm tempted to fade the Rockies again today. The White Sox right there on that list. They've lost 6 in a row. They've looked absolutely lifeless of late. And when you find a bottom feeder to fade, I'm just fading them on the run line or fading them depending on what the price is. But I'll fade them either on the run line or in straight up fashion every day. You know, Detweiler came out of the bullpen 2 days ago, or was it 3 days ago? And now back in a starting role. I don't know that he goes more than 3 or 4 innings today against Cleveland. And Cleveland coming off a sweep at the hands of Tampa Bay. I think they come home with a little bit of juice tonight. So I thought the price was right. Again, minus $1.25 with the Indians on the run line. That's one that made a ton of sense to me.
It certainly does. And even though Detweiler's looked a tiny bit better of late, still, the Twins got to him. We know the Twins smash lefties, but this is a must-hit spot for the Indians after getting swept by the Rays. I think that's a great look. I'm going to take a little bit more time on the Indians -1 line, but and you're on the full -1.5. I may move over to that at -125, but there it is, Indians and our Teddy Covers. Look at some of the comments coming in from the chat. Anthony L. says, I love Teddy Covers. Honored to be on the same show as him. So am I, man. So am I. Lot of love. Neo Money saying Teddy's the first guy I've ever listened to break down the line. A legend. Nutflush says, welcome, Teddy. Dadfan says, Teddy, miss you and Paulie together. Jay Scum says, what up, Teddy Covers? Big Ragoo says, love that, Teddy. Keeping it real. DJ Big Boss says, Teddy Covers, my guy. Love this connection. Teddy Covers, we have a huge football game. Notre Dame and Louisville. Man, now, for me, as you know, I'm an enormous horse racing fan. And Churchill Downs, I was there, a couple months ago, and I could see the Louisville Cardinal. I could see it right there. It's right across from the track. And, man, it's going to be rocking tonight. This Notre Dame team is angry. They got Ian Book coming back to an offense. I mean, we have a senior quarterback, 2,628 yards, 19 touchdowns last year, completed 68.2% of his throws, 154 passing rating, 5th best in program history. Their defense lost Julian Love, but they have Okwara, second-team preseason All-American pass rusher, and now we have this Louisville team that's got to somehow bounce back from that horror show last year. 2-10. Satterfield came in after 2-8 start. Juwan Pass did not look good last year. 8 TDs, 12 picks. This defense was atrocious. 44.1 points allowed, 483.4 yards per game. A big game in Louisville tonight, Teddy. Take it away. What is your angle on this spot?
First, I got to say thank you so much to the guys in the chat. DJ Big Boss, what's up, buddy? Haven't seen you since Vegas last year. I really appreciate all the comments, guys. Thank you. You make my boy. The amount of make a guy feel good about himself. You don't want that. Last thing, especially going into a season, you don't want a guy all high and mighty. You got to stay hungry in this business. Doesn't matter how high you get or starting from the bottom. If you're not doing the work every single day, it's going to get past you. Notre Dame, Louisville's a hard game for me. I will not play. I don't care if the line moves 3 points in either direction today. I'm not playing the game. And this is why. All right. We know what Notre Dame is. Notre Dame is really freaking good. All right. They were a playoff team last year. Maybe they weren't, obviously they couldn't compete with Clemson, as it showed very clearly. And all offseason they've had that loss to stew on. But certainly when you talk about, no one's competing with Clemson and Alabama right now. So you talk about the top 2 teams and then everybody else. And Notre Dame at or near the top of that everybody else list in college football. They have a returning quarterback in Ian Book. We know what the Book can play. We have a bunch of play on this time of the season, especially. I'm interested in teams that have playmakers, teams that can get the quick strike touchdowns. Those teams head and shoulders ahead of the teams that have to, grind out drives, 10, 12, 14 play drives down the field and avoid the mistakes to get in the end zone. I want the teams that can have the guys that can, the ball's in their hands, boom, there's 7 points. Those are the favorites I want to be laying with. And Notre Dame certainly is that kind of a favorite. Defensively, I have no issues whatsoever with the Fighting Irish. Yes, they lost some talent to the NFL. All the good teams lose talent to the NFL in every offseason. The Irish have recruited very well on the defense side of the football. I do not see a drop-off there. So we know Notre Dame is good. My problem is how to value Louisville. And the answer is I don't know. This is a team last year, Jimmy. They didn't just underperform to their talent level. Their talent level was here. Here, let's get in the camera. And they were like right here, maybe they were, they way underperformed their talent level. It wasn't close. They quit on Petrino. Petrino left town. It was a garbage season. So now you grade out the personnel for Louisville on on both sides of the football. Especially you talk about how bad that defense. I mean, that defense was atrocious last year, as bad as any in college football. Personnel-wise, they don't grade out that badly. They grade out mediocre, not dismal. So how do we price them going into the season? Is that a mediocre defense or is that a dismal defense? Is that a defense that were based on personnel or is that a defense that's based on results? The wise guys, most assuredly, Jimmy, they are betting on Louisville in this ballgame. There's been a fair bit of wise guy money because they say this team is better than their record would indicate last year. They're better than their power rating was indicate for the start of this season just because Scott Satterfield's a coach that everybody likes. And here in Vegas, everybody likes this guy. And if you've been betting App State in recent years, you understand why. Everybody likes this guy. He's made the backers money. So Satterfield's a bet-on coach. We expect his team to be ready, but how far down are they? Do we trust Pass not to make the type of dismal throws that he made all season last year? Well, yeah, he'd march him down the field and get in the red zone and then immediately throw a pick. I don't. So Louisville might be undervalued in theory because they were so awful last year, but do I trust them enough to put a bet on them today? No. So it's one I'm going to watch and learn. So many games week one I watch and learn. I'm not peppering the board with wagers week one. There's no reason to pepper the board with wagers in week one. Week one is a learning week because all you've had is to read all summer about what every team, what everyone's talking about. Read. Well, now we get to see. And once we get to see, then we get to make good bets the next week. So I'll be watching this game. Maybe I'll see something early and get involved in game. But going into the game, I'm not even close to making a wager on this one. Louisville's a team I want to watch before I get involved with.
That makes a ton of sense. And that's what I was doing Saturday, too. Also, what I was doing is I copy and paste so many of our great handicappers in our chat. I was copying and pasting their looks and then comparing what they thought of the game as to what ended up happening with execution, week one, question marks surrounding everything. This total, Teddy's dropped at Bet Online from 57.5 down to 55. Big Boss very interested in the over in this game. Do you think, again, you need to see Louisville's defense before you make a move? Because here again, if you put together the 57.5 down to 55, it seems like it's the wise guys saying Louisville's defense is going to be much better than last year. Is this another spot where you don't want to make a move on the total?
At the current number, we're actually getting two-way action. If you look at the leading indicator books, look at Penny right now. The 54.5 over 18, they're moving to 55. Bookmakers got the juice to the under right here at 55, but Heritage is going it's 55 to the over. Here in Vegas, Westgate, Caesars are at 55 right now. I don't think this total is going to move a whole lot, I guess, between now and kickoff. When it comes to betting it tonight, I don't know what I'm going to see. I don't know if Louisville's offense is going to be capable of scoring. I don't know if Louisville's defense is going to be capable of stopping. So given those two instances, it makes it really hard for me to get involved wager-wise. It's not a game where we're going to expect a super fast pace. It's not going to be all no huddle, and we're not going to see somebody run 108 plays like Boise did against Florida State the other game. So pace is not likely to be torrid pace in this game, but I have too many questions about Louisville. I don't know. I'm not confident. I can't look at you and say, yeah, this defense is going to be way better than it was last year. It should be, in theory, but maybe, It's not anything I'm confident. Say, yeah, this defense, they're going to hold Notre Dame to 30. I don't know they are. I wouldn't bet that. Can Louisville score? Will that offense move the ball up and down? I don't have a good feel for that. So if I don't have a sense of what one of the two teams is going to look like and where they are in relation to their power rating, is Louisville as good, better, worse, offensively, defensively? I don't have a good feel for that right now, Jimmy. So from a total standpoint, good luck, but it's not one that I'm going to bet.
Makes sense. Ron Lofton saying Teddy spot on. Don't need to bet a game just to have action early in the college football season. And Paul Barnes saying best bet is no bet sometimes. But DJ Big Boss likes the team total over from his Irish. Very, very interesting. Big, giant game this evening. Teddy, what are the big games coming up this week in NCAA football that are on your radar?
Oh, there's so many, but let me talk about that point for just a minute. About I'm not going to bet. It's okay to make small action wagers. Okay, it's something that you're not going to feel if you lose. It's not going to hurt you. You want to have a little bit of action. That's not going to kill you to put $20 down on a game. What you don't want to do is be making big action bets just to have action. No way. That's how you get kid. I mean, your bankroll will blow. It's a done deal. Big games this weekend, guys. Jimmy, I sent you a whole list of them last night, man. There's like 15 big games in college football this week. The two biggest ones, there's two top 25 matchups. Texas A&M and Clemson. Clemson opens in the 17.5 range. Now they're 18.5 in a lot of spots. That's the one. And then the other top 25 game is LSU Texas. LSU opens 4.5-point road chalk in that game. No respect for the Longhorns in the betting markets, not even off that blowout win over Louisiana Tech. So those are the two quote-unquote biggest marquee matchup. But Jimmy, there's 20 games we could talk about that people will be interested. Look at Tennessee. They're only laying 3.5 against BYU. Market's not expecting a bounce back from the Vols. That's a funny line. I mean, my number was much higher than that. So I'm going to do some reading. I wouldn't be surprised at all if I get a wager down on Tennessee in the next 24 hours.
Tennessee, an embarrassing start for them. And BYU, I mean, there was a lot of people that thought BYU would have a better start against Utah. Utah smashed. We had Mohamed Joma come in, give a play of the day on Utah. But let's talk about these big top 25 spots here. Let's start with A&M versus Clemson. A lot of talk here. A Big Boss play from his video with us was to take Clemson first half in their opener, and they took care of business. Clemson looked very good. A&M versus Clemson. A&M start with Texas State. I took Texas State plus 33.5 and lost by a hook. Very disappointing. But the season started off well. 7-4. The season started off well. Let's talk about these two games. Let's talk about A&M versus Clemson. Does Clemson take it again? Is there going to be a beating in store here? We have an opening at minus 20 at BetOnline. We have Clemson opening at minus 20, and now BetOnline's at minus 17, but it's minus 130. It's heavily juiced on the minus 130. We have Bookmaker at 18.5, Bovada, Heritage, UWager, Bet365 at 18.5, but Penny sitting at 17.5. 12th ranked Texas A&M versus number 1 ranked Clemson. What's your feel early in the week?
Should I yell at you first? I feel like yelling at you right now.
Sure.
You can't lose that game. You cannot lose by a half a point. You have to have a 34. There were 34.5s out there. How do you lose that by a hook, Jimmy? That's no good.
No, I need this. This is why we have you on the show, Teddy. This is exactly why.
You can't lose that game by a hook, dude. No pro is going to lose that game by a hook. If you're serious about betting, you're going to push or win that game. It doesn't matter which side you have. You can't lose that game by a hook. You can't take the worst of the number like that. Boom, I can yell at you. And I hate yelling at you, Jimmy. I like you.
No, it's okay. I need this. This is why you're here, Teddy. Guidance. This is what I need.
Yeah, you said I went 7-4. No, you should have gone 7-3-1, buddy. At a worst. You can't lose that. And especially, I mean, God forbid, did you watch the last play of that game to lose?
Yeah.
You know, Texas State was such the wrong side there anyway. They're not a good team. So, let me make this very clear, because this is a good point to talk about with Clemson A&M. All right? There's two things I don't do in college football, basically ever. I don't bet against the very best teams, and I don't bet on the very worst teams. When you're saying, oh, look, New Mexico State's catching 53.5 this week. That's a good. Maybe they cash. Maybe they cover. That's not a bet I will ever make. When you start talking the dogs that are non-competitive, and you're hoping well, the favorite's distracted. Well, maybe they'll look ahead. Well, maybe the backups will come in. That's never a dog that I want. Never. So, for what it's worth, in Texas State, I mean, if you watch that game, they're god-awful. Both, they can't control the line of scrimmage. They won't be able to do that in conference play either. That's a bad-looking football team. When it comes to Clemson and A&M, so we just talked about, I don't want the very worst teams. I will not make a case for a bottom 20 team in college football unless there's something exceptional that really stands out. You can't make money with those teams. At the end of the year, they're going to be 4-8, 5-7 ATS, at best, 6-6, they have a good year for the bottom feeders. It's the same story with the teams at the top. Clemson, at the end of the year, guess what? They make money for their backers just about every season. Same story with Alabama. They're truly elite. They are a touchdown plus better than any other team in college football. Why do you want to stand in front of these teams? I don't want to stand in front of Clemson. Clemson is so good. There's no reason. There's 60, 70 games on the board. I don't have to bet against the best team in college football. I don't know. A&M gave them a battle last year. Sure they did. That was last year. It'd be Clemson or pass for me. I'm not convinced A&M is going to go into this environment and do well. And Kellen Mond, again, we saw it against Texas State. The decision-making in the red zone, maybe not what we want it to be. You can get away with that against the Bobcats. You ain't getting away with that against the Tigers. So it's not like there's a ton of value on Clemson. Oh, yeah, let's lay the hook. I'm going to see what this line does. Hope the line drops. You talk BOL down to 17, but juice with that. The broader market now 17.5, 18, 18.5. 17 might be a buy sign for me on Clemson. Current price, I'm not going to play it, but that's the only way I would play it is the favorite minus the points. I will not step in front of this elite team, especially being that A&M gave them a real battle last year. Clemson's going to be fully focused for this one.
Fight Brand B saying Clemson first half. Mally Mouse saying Clemson, the new money train first half, no longer Alabama. LSU, Texas, big game coming up this weekend. LSU opening up at -3 at Bet Online. A little bit juiced, -3, -115. Now -4.5 at Bet Online. LSU 4.5 points up against Texas. Do you have any early reads on these two clubs?
So, yeah, sure. We got a lot to talk about. You know me. I can talk about this stuff all day, Jimmy. And I like talking about it. So hopefully your viewers will get some info, and the enthusiasm will be, what's the word I'm looking for? Everybody gets it. But the bottom line, LSU, Texas. Look, I'm telling you flat out, here in Vegas, there is no respect for the Texas Longhorns in the betting markets. We saw it this weekend. The money came on Louisiana Tech, and the heavy money came on Louisiana Tech. In that ballgame. The Wise guys were all over them, and Texas rolled them. And guess what? You see this opener, and it tells you all you need to know. There's not a lot of respect for Texas. And LSU, there's a ton of respect for in the betting markets. LSU, is being power rated as a top 5 team given this number. And of course, both teams look good in the opener. Burrow got a fair bit of love for LSU. And I mean, LSU, when you talk about returning starters or returning starter angles, that did not work this week, by the way. In fact, the teams with the fewest returning starters had a great week 1. The teams with the most returning starters were 50-50 ATS. But it wasn't like if you were betting on the teams with a ton of returning, 17 or more, and betting against the teams with 8 or less, you made money. No, that lost in week 1 this year. But LSU has a ton of returning starters. And the markets reflect that with this point spread. But more than anything else, okay, this point spread is telling us, and we saw it week 1, Texas is being viewed as an overachiever. And I can tell you why. Their statistical profile isn't that pretty. Last year, they won a good handful of games where they were out-yarded. And the markets hate that. The markets freak out about that. The markets really react negatively to teams that have bad yardage differentials, like Texas did a season ago. Now, if you think that is a valid reason why Texas should be devalued this year, you're betting LSU. I don't think that's a valid reason Texas should be devalued this year. And while I am an LSU believer already, hey, we've seen the SEC have some cracks. 2 conferences that you might want to, I think I've had some issues early on. SEC and Pac-12 have been, dicey to put it mildly. My gut is lean towards Texas in this ballgame. I think this price is too high. I think the Longhorns, with their returning quarterback, are capable of moving the football up and down the field. And if there's one thing you want to do one trend in college football you want to ride. I'm not a trend guy, but this is one that has paid so many dividends over so long a time. That's Texas head coach Tom Herman as an underdog. I didn't look up the number. I'm sorry. It's something like 22-2 his last 24 tries. I mean, it's ridiculous. And again, this dates back, if you follow Herman, offense coordinator at Iowa State, offense coordinator at Ohio State, head coach at Houston, now head coach at Texas. In each of those stops, his teams have been monsters as underdog. Remember Cardell Jones, who just got cut by the Chargers and never did anything in the NFL? Never started for Ohio State, except for when he was a third-string quarterback and Tom Herman coached him up to win a national title with the guy. No, that's Cardell Jones. That's Tom Herman. Herman plus points I'm always interested in. And again, from a market value standpoint, Texas isn't valued correctly right now, in my opinion. Texas or pass for this better.
I've watched you for 2 years hammer Herman as a home dog. There it is right there, LSU, Texas. Some interesting spots here, and I would like you, I don't want to lead you into a game, we got the BYU Tennessee spot that you've already touched on, but one spot that jumps out at us because we were capping these two teams quite heavily is the Nevada-Oregon spot. We just saw Oregon lose late, and we had DJ Big Boss all over Nevada. We all jumped on Nevada. Nevada wins outright. We see this line, Nevada and Oregon open up at -20.5, now -23.5. Can Nevada keep doing what they have been doing under their new coach, or is Oregon the spot here to smash after that very disappointing ending in week 1? What do you think about this Nevada-Oregon spot?
DJ, nice cash on Nevada. That wasn't the right side. Nevada got their butt kicked in that game, but Purdue turned the ball over at very inopportune times, ran into a fourth quarter hot, momentum swing, and lost on a 56-yard field goal that ended with the fans swarming the field and the kicker getting a scholarship and the best night of their lives for all the players on the young Wolfpack squad. Oh, and now they got to go up to Eugene to play Oregon this week? No, I don't want Nevada this week. Nevada was last week, and they got the win, and everything is great. This is a tough spot for that squad. I think they're going to have a hard time dealing with Oregon's skill position talent on the outside. We saw Purdue have big play success against the Nevada secondary, which means that Oregon likely to have more success. I have not yet bet the Ducks because I want to read some quotes out of the locker room this week. But with Oregon, again, they weren't the only team to play a good first half and a bad second half. Happened all over college football on Saturday. You're going to halftime all fat and happy, and then you come out and oops, nothing works. That doesn't mean they're a bad team. Look at Florida State, as your classic first half, second half dichotomy from week 1. But Oregon on their home field off that loss against an opponent that they can create big plays against, to me, that is a bet on scenario. Haven't pulled the trigger yet, but and I'm looking at the line as we're talking, and the 24s are popping. I might pull the trigger as soon as I get off the show. That's one that I would like to get down on sooner rather than later. And you say, why aren't you doing it while you're on the show? Because I don't want to lose this game by a half point, Jimmy, because I'm going to take my time when I'm making my bet and make sure I'm getting the number that I want to get. And that's why you have all the outs that Sports Review is so good at providing for people. Don't have one book, have two. You have 2 books, get 4. You have 4 books, get 8. Get those half points, win those games by a hook, don't lose them by a hook. And that's why I'm not going to do it real quick while we're on. I know the number's moving right now. I'm still confident I have enough outs that when we get off the show in a few minutes, I'll be able to get my wager down. But it's Ducks or pass for me. Get my wager down at the number that I want to get it down at, which is 23. I'm not going to lay, 23.5 when there are 23s out there.
Oh, well put. Makes sense. Couple more games I want to talk about just before we shut her down here. The first one is Army, Michigan. Army did not look good against Rice. We had Mississippi Kid. We had a few cappers in our chat liking Rice in that spot, completely getting me off of Army. Although I didn't back Rice, I got off of Army. Now Army playing Michigan. Man, you can't handle Rice. Now you have Michigan. Opens up at -24 at BetOnline, now -22.5. Some people coming in to back Army. Army, Michigan. Teddy, what do you think here?
Well, let me ask you this, Jimmy. Which is more important, getting off a loser or getting on a winner?
Getting on a winner.
Incorrect. Getting off a loser because you lose 11 When you get on a winner, you only get 10. So when someone talks you off a loser, they did you a better favor than they did if they gave you a winner. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. But if I had the balls to then switch over to the other side, because often I get off of a play, I feel fear. I get off of a play, I feel fear, but I don't let that fear dictate me into taking the other side. I just let it take me off. And I think that's something that...
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. There's no worse feeling when you start out, you're like, oh, I like whoever. I like LSU this week. And then you start reading stuff and, and then someone, oh, we talked to this guy. Oh, you read that. And then you say, oh, well, geez, I don't like LSU. Now I like Texas. And then you bet Texas. And then LSU wins and covers. And you're like, oh, my God, I'm an idiot. So I will absolutely let factors take me off of a side that was my initial lean very, very rarely. The only thing that's going to get me off on a side that was my initial lean and get me onto the other side is when there's actual information. Oh, guess what? The side that you like, there's top 4 offensive linemen are all hurt this week, or something with some type of strong information that's going to actually put me on the other side. Otherwise, if I like the side and I find info the other way, I'm just going to leave the game alone because there's nothing worse for your psyche. So much we talk about handicap and all this. A lot of it's up here, keeping yourself in position where you're not getting too high and not getting too low and not super mad at yourself all the time and not super mad at some other guy all the time and not blaming me for the Northwestern loss. I got a bunch of, I was tweeting out stuff about Pat Fitzgerald when there was like 6 minutes left and they were like, you caused that fumble. It's your fault. No, it wasn't my fault. But the key is, I'm getting off track. You asked me about Nevada. You asked me about Michigan and Army. Let me go there. It's a hard game. It is a hard game. Do you trust Army's offense to be able to move the ball against the Wolverines defense? I don't trust it a little bit. Not even a little bit. Army has no playmakers. There's no big plays. So what are they going to have to do? They're going to have to dink and dunk and grind and generate first downs. And, they're not going to be, ripping around end for 20-yard gains. It's going to be a struggle for Army to move the ball up and down the field. That being said, it's Army's, as we saw last week, you don't want to lay 3 touchdowns with Army, but you sure as hell don't want to lay 3 touchdowns against Army either. That's not their style of play. They're going to slow the game down. They're not going to, there's not a lot of big plays that they do offensively or defensively. So Wolverines are likely to have to do a little dink and dunk of their own, although Michigan's playmakers on the outside could wreak a little havoc for Army's secondary. Army's just not a team I'm real comfortable laying this price with, but Michigan should smack this squad. If I had to play it, I'd look at the Wolverines, but the under probably makes more sense of all. Haven't seen the total on this game yet. Let's see where it comes out. But I'm afraid it's going to come out real low. But that'd be my first gut reaction towards Michigan and Army. I think points are going to be hard to come by, and the game will be played at a relatively slow pace.
I think so. I absolutely think so. I think there's going to be a low-scoring game. Why don't we put a bow on this bad boy with the Bearcats? Cincinnati going up against Ohio State. Cincinnati looked good against UCLA. They're 17-point dogs against Ohio State, the 5th-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. How do you see this game banging out, Teddy?
Boy, I'm tempted by the points. I got to tell you. Again, this is Fickell's chance to play Ohio State. He was the defense coordinator there under Urban Meyer for a while. Took the Cincinnati job and has made me a lot of money. He's one of my favorite head coaches right now, no question about it. So he's going back to his old stomping grounds. Cincinnati doesn't have a lot of, in terms of the big play weapons. They are not a team that's going to have quick strike touchdowns. That does concern me here because Ohio State's defense is not going to be easy to move the football against. But the Bearcats, Cincy's defense is real. Fickell is a defensive-minded guy. We saw what they were able to do for UCLA. Took UCLA to have everything the Bruins wanted to do the entire game. And again, UCLA spent all offseason working on that defense and could do nothing against them. I don't know if that's going to happen against Ohio State, but I'm interested in Cincy plus. And if I'm interested, this is one game where side and total may well be related. Cincy's not going to cover if this game's a shootout. They're not scoring 30 in at the Horseshoe. So let's see what the total comes out for this game. But Cincy does correlate with under in this one. That's probably the way I'm going to look.
Cincy and the under. Great stuff from our guy Teddy Covers. We have so many games on this giant Saturday card, just a few on the Friday card and numbers are trickling out from the books right now. Wake Forest, right? William Mary, Virginia, Marshall, Boise State, Sacramento State, Arizona State. We will get to those throughout the week, and a huge slate on Saturday. Teddy Covers making his debut at Betting with the Bag. I absolutely love it. We are all so excited to have you. Man, some Deer Slayer Ski saying having Teddy and his knowledge on this show will benefit all of us low baggers. Jay Scum saying, I think since he can hang with the Buckeyes. Rich G says, love OSU, but since he should cover the number. Suk Mikuk says, yup, like the points right now. Guru saying Cincinnati look very good, but I think this number is right. If anything, Ohio State crushes them. Wow, what a treat it is to have you here rolling with us, Teddy Covers. Thank you so much for joining us. Where can we find you on Twitter? Where can we follow your action?
It's real simple. At Teddy_Covers. You see what I'm doing all day long, every day. I appreciate the time, Jimmy. I appreciate you having me on. I look forward to doing this every single day here this football season. It was a lot of fun. And tomorrow, I expect you to give me a lot more shit than you gave me today. Today, you were too easy on me, man. Give me some grief.
Too easy. Oh, man. No, I love it. I absolutely love it. We are so excited to have you rolling with us. There he is, Las Vegas, Nevada, represent. There's Teddy Covers in the house. Teddy, have an incredible Labor Day, and thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to see you tomorrow.
Cheers, guys. Have a great day. Best of luck with all your wagers. Bet with your head, not over it. Blah, 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 blah. Enjoy yourself. Have a good Labor Day.